My name is Cecilia Kruger. I'm the Managing Director of the Voortrekker Monument, which is the National Grade 1 site, and the Heritage Foundation. I started off as an ordinary museum scientist at the South African National Museum of Military History, now the Ditsong Museum, and during the time I did my diploma in museology, and much later I became one of the part-time lecturers. I've been working here for 20 years and I've been a heritage practitioner for 35 years. The monument was constructed between 1938 and it was completed in 1949, which then was the inauguration. The laying of the cornerstone in 1938, as well as the inauguration in 1949, 11 years later, was probably the two most significant events in the history of the Afrikaner as a minority group. One must go back to the migration of European settlers into the interior between the years of 1835 and 1854, more or less. And historians regard the turning point of this migration as the Battle of Blood River, as we always knew it. Today it's known as the Battle of Blood River Nome. And that happened on 16 December 1838. And that was basically a clash between these, a small section of these European settlers and the impi of King Dingaan of the Zulu. After that, there were various settlements that took place, but it was regarded as a very significant migration, if we look back now, obviously, which has changed the whole history of South Africa. It changed the geography. It changed, well, the entire history of South Africa, or Southern Africa, actually. And therefore, in 1938, it was quite important at the time to commemorate this specific historic event in Southern Africa. And it was decided to construct a monument in honor of those settlers, and then specifically in honor of the Battle of 1838. Well, we all know the history of the day. It was first known as Dingaan's Day, later it was known as the Day of the Vow, and then in our more recent history it was changed to the Day of Reconciliation. The monument has always played a part in these events. The staff of the monument is also involved in the running of the Blood River Museum opposite Nome. So at Nome we were part of the opening of the Bridge of Reconciliation, as we are part of the opening of the Reconciliation Road between Freedom Park and the monument. The significance of the monument, I think, firstly architecturally, if one thinks that this was constructed about 80 years ago and one looks at the artwork, when you go on your guided tour, you'll see the significance of the artwork, even internationally. A lot of painstaking thought and a lot of fundraising and things went into the actual construction.
My name is Daniel Mukwena. I'm an information officer at the Voortrekker Monument. That is when the visitors come inside, they pass by my office just to ask for the overall view of the monument, and then I direct them. I also give them our brochures. I'm a site guide in the monument, and also I'm a national guide. I've got 5 provinces in my badge. And then as a national guide, you're competent to guide any group of people through those 5 provinces. When we're doing the tour, we start at the steps there, and then we welcome the people to the monument, and then we tell them the monument is the Grade 1 National Heritage Site, and then it's also the second most visited monument in South Africa. And we tell them also that the stairs we are standing at, we count 130 steps towards to the entrance door of the monument. And then the stairs represent the Great Trek, because the monument also represents the Great Trek of the Dutch people from the Cape to the north, because they were coming this side. Up the stairs, we found now the Black Gate, which is called the gate, the Assegai Gate. And then that Assegai Gate represents the Zulu warriors. And then if you can look well at them, you'll see that they've got spears protruding and then those represent the traditional weapons of the Zulu warriors. And then when you walk through the gate, on the right-hand side, you'll see 3 plates. Those 3 plates are the vow of the Voortrekkers when they were about to begin the Battle of Blood River in 1838. Now that vow is written in English, Dutch, and Afrikaans. In that vow, they asked God to help them to win the battle.
The vow, they stated that should God give them victory over the Zulus, they would commemorate this day as a Sabbath, and they will also erect a church in his name. A church not being a physical church at the time, but probably also meaning to spread the word of God. There was a church built indeed in 1842 in Pietermaritzburg, which today is the Umsunduzi Museum.
The wall is oval in shape, and then they lined up 64 wagons, which is exactly the number of wagons that were lined up during the Battle of Blood River. And then that wall represents the protective wall for the Voortrekkers, because the Zulus will be outside and then the Voortrekkers will be inside, and then it will be very difficult to penetrate them. The monument was built in a period of 12 years, starting from 1937, where now the cornerstone was laid, and then inaugurated in 1949.
Just by looking at the numbers, approximately 150,000 people attended the cornerstone. So all these things were arranged by post. There were hardly any films and things around. So it must have been under trying circumstances. And then once again in 1949, about 250,000 people attended the inauguration of the monument.
When you go through the gate, the first thing you see is the statue of a woman and 2 children. And then it represents the role of the woman during the Great Trek.
If you look at the woman and child on either side of her, there's the black wildebeest portrayed, and that symbolizes Dingaan's impi.
The monument have got 3 levels inside. The first level is the Hero's Wall, represent the story of the Great Trek. When you get inside the Hero's Wall, you will find the marble frieze panels. We've got 27 marble frieze panels. And then we've got the longest marble frieze panel in the world, which covers 97 meters.
The most important is probably then the cenotaph, which is an empty grave, and it was erected to commemorate everybody that died during that period. But then on 16 December at 12 o'clock, if the sun shines, it shines through an opening in the cupula, and it shines on the words on the cenotaph saying, "We for thee, South Africa." So that is very symbolic.
The Afrikaans-speaking people assemble here on the 16th of December to come and view and experience that miracle. And then also by doing so, they remember the date of the Battle of Blood River.
The Voortrekker Monument is a non-profit company, and it's an NGO. So cultural organizations serve on the board of directors. So I think that's already level 1 of community involvement. And then we have a very, I think, a very well-developed schools program, education program, which we have been running for more than 10 years. And we have been visited probably mostly by Northwest, Mpumalanga and Limpopo schools. By planting that seed, we are hoping to also get the parents to come. There are a lot of activities that happen here. We have a lot of facilities that are rented out. We have the annual homecoming concert in the large amphitheater. So by doing all these things, we are hoping that coming to this site will make people aware and then want to learn more. Where SAHRA is concerned now, the monument is 80 years old, as well as many other structures on the site, but the monument itself needs to be maintained, and there are quite a few restoration projects in the pipeline. So we need permits and things from SAHRA, and this sometimes does take a bit of a time, well, it takes time, because you need a heritage architect on site, you need tender processes and so on. So for the last more than a year now, we've been working on waterproofing the upper level of the monument, as you'll probably see. So it's very important for us to keep our communication lines with SAHRA open and going. But other than that, we have to survive on our own. We have to source as many as possible income streams. We have to think much broader now with COVID.
One of the information that we give to our tourists when they visit the Voortrekker Monument is having the pleasure of having 3 sites as the Grade 1 National Heritage Sites. And then those are the Voortrekker Monument, the Freedom Park, and the Union Buildings. And then when we are up at the height of the Voortrekker Monument, you can see that those 3 sites are on the same line of view from the Voortrekker Monument.
We also looked at the site surrounding the monument, which is a nature conservation area. So we are planning to bring in more activities, outdoor activities and adventure activities to attract more local people. We've been visited by overseas visitors, and especially Chinese, and that's been keeping us going for the last 15 years, but now things are changing.
Archives in the library form part of the Heritage Foundation, which was established in 2000, so we are 20 years old now. And it actually grew out of the professional services unit of the Voortrekker Monument. 20 years ago, they realized that there's an increased need to look after different types of heritage, documentary heritage, and also provide a research facility more than just the Voortrekker Monument. So the archives were predominantly established to house the Voortrekker Monument archive, all the founding documents from the mid-1930s up to the actual declaration of the monument as a Grade 1 heritage site, and all the operational documents, as well as the internal documents of the Heritage Foundation. The archive also comprises some external collections of cultural organizations, private individuals that we look after and take care of on behalf of individuals and organizations. The largest challenge is probably to create an awareness and understanding of exactly what heritage is in the country and why it should be protected.
You know, in the past, round about 2000 up to about 2008, we really had problems with extremists from the right and the left side. We try and depoliticize the monument. It was never meant to be a political symbol, and I'm very strict about that. We don't allow political parties here or anything like that. So we try and steer away from that, and I think we've been quite successful in that. So we have the normal run-of-the-mill South African visiting the place to try and find out more about their history. But apart from that, the financial challenge is the biggest one. As a non-profit company, we have to be very careful how we source our funding and so on. So we have established a PTY limited company as well, who is now going to look at more business-like enterprises and projects and so on to raise money for the monument. Funda, going back to the word fundamental, the basics, where we all come from. And this idea grew, and we approached the Lotto for funding, which we got. It was quite an extended and very strenuous process. But it opened in 2019, and we are planning, we had some guides around who think that this is a wonderful place for overseas tourists to start their visit, because it really takes us back to where we all come from. And we're focusing on things like clay and grass and glass, and that binds us all together. So we're not focusing on this cultural group or that cultural group, and I really hope you have time to go and visit it. It'll be clear when you get there. So yeah, it's the Fundamental or the Funda Discovery Center.
We basically provide a public benefit service. So we are open to absolutely everyone that has an interest in heritage, broadly speaking.
Besides the everyday visitor that visit the monument, we are also open to the learners from grade R to grade 12. Also, the university students come here to do their research projects. But for the learners, we try to disseminate information of their curriculum, CAPS curriculum, and then there is where now from grade R we tell them stories about the Great Trek, and then show them the objects that are around them, inside and around the monument. And then from grade 4 to about 7, we tell them about the Great Trek, we tell them about the Stone Age, the Iron Age, the Sand and the Koi, and then there is where now we touch much of the CAPS curriculum. From grade 8 upwards, then we speak about the stones, the type of stones that we have around the monument.
I am, and it's a personal view, but am of the opinion that our heritage is shared. It's the shared heritage, and that we need to look after it holistically so that specific parts can be conserved.
I think what is important, the lesson that we learned, is that we must be more focused on our local, our South African community. The fact that we're a rainbow nation is probably very well illustrated in the fact that you can visit the monument and Freedom Park, get 2 or 3 sides of the history. But to come and visit and to enjoy, it shouldn't be an onerous expedition. It should be something that you can enjoy. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what else to say here, but we must look after our heritage. It is so important for us all, our different identities. As the preamble states, our heritage is unique. We can't renew it. And it teaches us respect for each other, which I think is something that we need to, and tolerance, yeah.